I'm Jim Czek. You're watching KelownaNow. I'm here with Tania Gustafson with Fit Nutrition, the sponsor of this show. And today we're going to talk about what's in there.
Yeah, what is in there?
What is in there? Like, you shouldn't put it in your body if you don't know what it is. That's really
Absolutely.
it, right?
That's
like,
a really good rule of thumb.
Do you know what I mean? If you can't read it and you can't understand what it is, don't eat it.
Right. Sometimes we struggle. There's like a million letters in some of these words in our food we're talking about, right? Like labels. Yeah.
Good rule of thumb, too. If it has more than 3 ingredients, probably not.
Yeah.
And the first one is sugar.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of that happening with back to school.
Is there? Oh, yeah, right, because packing lunches, right?
Right, because that's what we're talking about, back to school.
Kids need a lunch, and it's, I guess, lots of times convenience is the...
That's the driving factor.
You know what I mean? It's convenience, like, you know, because there's not only lunch, there's recess or snack time, and all that stuff. So then you want to give them a snack, right?
Absolutely.
And then sometimes,
and then there's after school because you're picking them up, or they're going to daycare, or you're going to whatever sport event that they've signed up for now. Like,
and kids love snacks.
They love snacks, and they should eat snacks.
Our little granddaughter always says that.
Does she?
It's snack time.
Is it snack time? Good for her. I know that you guys feed her really well, and she's just so cute.
Snack time.
But yeah, we should be eating like children, like frequently throughout the day, but not the stuff that's loaded with sugar. I mean, not to say that you can never have that, obviously, but we should be having way more things that have way more food ingredients in them than what they are. Yeah. So I was listening to something last week, actually, and in the States, so I'm not sure about Canada, but there was just way more information out there on the States. But they were lobbying to have the lunch system in the school, one of the meals be Lunchables. Those little trays of stuff.
Because it's convenient for sure.
Because it's convenient.
And it's cool. Kids like it because you open it and there's like 4 little things and you kind of
but there's no nutritional value in them at all. Like, it's just devoid of any.
There's a lot of sugar in there, I'm sure.
There's a lot of sugar in there. Yeah, I pulled up some labels. I have them on my phone. But when I was looking at that, so I opened the labels of a couple of those popular ones, right? And what I found is, so labels are listed in the order of how much quantity, right? So whatever's at the top, that's the most, and then it goes down to the very, very bottom, right? So when you open those ones, I can just read it here if you want, but it's like the top of the line thing in that label. At first, because there's several items in there, right? So you have like a treat.
Long list of ingredients.
It's a very, very long list of so if you can see that there, I don't know if my phone's in the way, but there's all of that has words. Because there's all in a little tiny thing that's supposed to have a meat, a cheese, a cracker, and a treat. Right. So they start with the treat, which means that if you're starting with the treat, that's your largest ingredient in your child's lunch, like what they're supposed to be getting nourished in. It's not a Halloween snack, right? And so it goes on and on, starts with sugar. And just a little tip, we'll probably come back to this, but for parents who are looking now or panicking because it's Friday and they're going to head out and buy their school snacks and all the fun stuff for back to school coming up this week. If you have to buy some things and labels, read the package. Okay. So again, you don't want labels like this that are just like a ton of ingredients. And then you want to check the sugar. So take the number of grams of sugar, divide by 4. You will get the teaspoon equivalent of how much sugar.
Or basically a sugar cube.
Yeah, a sugar cube.
You know, the old days sugar cubes, you used to put like how many lumps do you want with that?
Right, exactly. But I mean, you can kind of get a visual that it's like, and then you can ask yourself, would I, because if you made a bowl of oatmeal or something, sometimes your mom used to let you put a little bit of brown sugar on it or something like that, right? But would you ever put multiple spoons of sugar in that? Like, no.
I used to do it with my cereal.
Right? Like people used to, but you don't now anymore. And how much better do you feel?
A little bit better.
A little bit better. Yeah, right? I know. But that's the thing, right? We look at that and go, oh, how many grams of sugar in there? So juice boxes, same thing. I mean, there's 7 to 8 teaspoons of sugar in a juice box, even the ones that say 100% real juice, because they've been clarified. They started out with 100% of an orange, and then they, devoid of all the nutrients and pulled out all the fiber. And, you probably have 7 oranges worth of stuff in there. Whereas why don't you just eat the orange?
There's a couple of really good apps out there. Nick, who's behind the controls there, told me about one, Yucca, where you can scan any label and it'll say, eat that, don't eat that. Like,
right.
Or even, I think it even has a little comedy in there. Are you kidding me? You're not going to eat that, are you?
I like that one. There's probably going to be a lot of, are you kidding me, is when we go out there, right?
Are you sure that's food?
Are you sure that's food? Yeah. If it says that to you, probably you want to put it back. It might be like a Halloween treat.
And then there's Chat GPT that you can use. You can upload a photo, or you can take a photo and look at it, and you can tell it, ask it. And the other really cool thing with that is like you can take a picture of a vegetable that you don't know what it is. So you're at the farmer's market and picked up a vegetable, and it will tell you how to prepare it and what to do with it.
That's kind of a helpful tool. I mean, Jim's very techie. For those of you who know me, we're like opposites in that, so I'm more of the traditional way that we go to the store, we read the label, we'll search out. I do search things online, obviously, but I don't use as many tech devices as Mr. Czek over here, Czek the tech guy over here. But yeah, anyway, those are very helpful. If you are techie, you might want to try some of those out. But the other thing you want to look for, so check the grams of sugar, right? So divide by 4, do your quick math. You can just round it off, whatever. You're going to be shocked at what you find. And then look for protein. So, protein is what keeps your child full. It helps them be strong with their muscles, and it keeps them from bouncing off the walls in the classroom.
And just convince them that sirloin strip loin is a snack.
Right, but what I'm saying is, and people are saying, okay, well, those Lunchables have lots of protein because there's cheese and there's meat. If you read what the ingredients are that are making up that said cheese or meat, it's an edible
Some
oil
of the things might
product.
not be cheese.
That's right. It's a manufactured.
It's not real cheese anyway.
And it says the one that I pulled up more than one, just so you know, and it says bioengineered foods on the bottom of it. So
that's got to be good.
That's got to be good for the company who's making it. I don't know how good it is for your digestive system and for your body. Now, I used to work in a school, so I know a little bit of what I'm talking about. So, lots, history and education and behavior therapy, worked in classrooms, worked in kids' homes, and I see entirely different children when they prioritize protein, have their breakfast before they come. So that's number one. You may be rushed in the morning. You may be like, hitting the ground running the first couple days or the first week, getting back into routine. But if you think ahead the night before and you think, okay, my child isn't really a morning person. We've been sleeping in all summer. It might be a little rough. Just prepare something a little bit the night before. Maybe make a dozen hard-boiled eggs, throw them in the fridge, peel a few so that you can have some in a container ready to go with, maybe a handful of grapes and a couple little eggs for your child, and they can eat that in the car on the way to school. They're going to feel so much better. You're not going to, you're going to not sit around the table in the morning, but they're going to get something better in them than you might grab the granola bar on the way out the door. Yeah.
So a couple of things that I would think, though, to better the relationship that your child has with food, you need to do it with leadership.
Thank you.
So you need to do it by eating boiled eggs yourself.
You have to model that.
And not be eating a donut and telling your child that here's your boiled egg. Right.
Or skipping breakfast, grabbing coffee, or driving through Starbucks, and then your child sees what you're doing, and they think, well, when I get to be a teenager, that's what I do.
Model the behavior.
Because this is going to make you healthier and happier. Your stress level is going to come down.
Right.
People don't realize that those two things are correlated. If you're properly fueled and you balance your blood sugar, like we talked about a lot of times on this show, so go back and watch a few. But basically, a protein, a fat, and a carb together frequently throughout the day is the way our bodies were born into
Have you also noticed the body shapes of a family tend to be all similar?
They do because
they're consuming the same types of food.
That's right. They pass down the habits. People say, well, it runs in my family. Here's a really cute cartoon I saw many years ago. I wish I had kept the clipping. Remember when you actually read the newspaper and there was those little cartoons in there?
I never picked up reading.
You do so. I know he does. Oh my gosh. But anyway, we had these little cartoons in the newspaper, right? And it was a man at his doctor, and the doctor was writing, and he said, it's not that high cholesterol runs in your family. It's that nobody in your family runs.
No.
And so it was just the whole thing that we inherit the habits of our family and those that we surround ourselves with. So take a look at your influence and your child's influence, and then that may
model behavior, and also eat food like it's medicine, or medicine will be your food.
Good quote.
And then
if you're a quote person, write that down.
Another good one is grow towers are kind of like getting popular for a lot of people in apartments and small spaces. If the child has a connection with going to pick it, they have a better connection to that fruit or vegetable.
They do.
Because they picked it and they think it's more special. Great, because increase the relationship with healthy foods.
Great segue, because I was just going to touch on that. The more involved your child gets with the food, the less picky they will be.
Right.
The more adventurous they will be to try new things. Yeah. They will be more excited about food.
Make a game of it.
Yes. So when I used to take my littles to the grocery store, I mean, my littlest little is now 28 years old. So this is a long time ago. But I do have a grandson. So when he's old enough and I'll be taking him to the grocery store, I used to get my kids just to go and I said, carte blanche, okay, fruit and vegetable aisle, you get to pick anything you want. I'd make it really exciting, Try something new that you haven't picked before. What looks exciting to you today? Kids love bright colors, and all those brightly colored fruits and vegetables have a lot of nutrients in them. So they would pick something and I said, okay, we're going to go home and we'll put this into lunch or dinner tonight, however it fit, whatever they chose, right? And they would get so excited. And it just really opened the door for them to try new flavors. They're always loving to try new flavors. They're all different in what they like, and they're all different in how their cooking abilities, but they can all cook. They love cooking. They prefer, even when my one daughter was going to university and she spent a whole year abroad in Edinburgh by herself, in a dorm kind of an idea, or they had some campus housing there, but they all shared a kitchen. She did not, opt for the fast food and the deliveries. She was actually cooking and she was showing everybody else how to cook as well too. So, I mean, that's just because they get involved and they value that and it becomes fun. So sometimes it's messy, but get a chair up to the counter. Let your little guy or gal get up there and dump some things into the bowl or stir it or whatever it is you're making, even if you have frozen veggies, let them just get a cup of it for them and let them dump it in the pot before you put it on the stove.
And if you're going to eat sweets, make them at home. Like you make your own ice cream and then you're putting a lot less in it. You're putting just basically milk, cream, and sugar instead of like another 12 ingredients.
Instead of the things that don't melt.
Yeah, some of those things. So, like whatever you're making banana bread and stuff like that.
I do. I make those a lot.
Yeah, so some of those things you can make a better alternative if, somebody still wants this sweetness.
Absolutely.
Right?
Well, and then that's a great alternative to a granola bar.
Again, modeling that behavior. Right?
Yes.
So,
it doesn't take very long to make. I mean, you guys can reach out to me. If you want a super quick recipe, you can even make it in your blender cup and then just pour it into the muffin tins. 20 minutes in the oven. Boom, you've got like a dozen, so your littles can take them all week for lunch.
And then I just want one last thing on modeled behavior. Mm-hmm. You are modeling behavior no matter if you think you are or not. Absolutely. Whatever you're doing, you are modeling the behavior.
That's right.
Because monkey see, monkey do.
That's right. And parents all know that, I think, in the back of your mind, because how many times have you told your child what to do and they don't want to do it? But then later, breakfast, eat your breakfast. Like all of these things.
People that skip breakfast, like if you want your child to have a healthier start and be attentive in class.
Yep.
Model it like we talked about this in past episodes. Is a good start is the most important thing.
It absolutely is.
So like a couple of boiled eggs is easy because you can make 12 ahead of time. You have enough for the week.
Yep.
You can do different ways. There's a million ways to do eggs. Right? You can do egg pizza, right? And I've done egg pizza tons of times. It's almost like a frittata kind of thing. You put it out there and then you can top it with whatever you want. Cheese. It almost looks like pizza and tastes really good.
Yeah, it's good.
So there's different ways.
I'll do it like a quiche, like a crust. You make like in a pilot. Yeah, super easy, right? You make one pan, you throw it in the oven. You can throw that in like 2 or 3 minutes while you're making dinner, and then it's ready. You slice it all up. It's ready for breakfast the next day. You can even pick it up and grab and go. Like if you had to, really, you could.
Yeah. For sure. I was just thinking back to school when I did get boiled eggs for school, and sometimes they were not. And then, open them up and everybody's like, who's having eggs?
Well, they could maybe just eat the eggs for breakfast or in the car on the way to school, and then they won't get those comments at school because you'll have something different in the lunch, right? Like you could go with a Greek yogurt.
Yeah, and if you have an average vocabulary, which is, like most Canadians have an average vocabulary, and you can pronounce the names on the package, it's a good rule of thumb. Just put it back.
Just put it back.
Just put it back.
Put it back. And seed oils are something you want to avoid.
Yeah. So here's a good thing. Like if you really want to simplify your life, just don't go down the middle aisles.
Yeah.
Shop the perimeter.
Except sometimes in the perimeter, the bakery's in the perimeter, and they have all of those sweets in there too. So you might want to do the perimeter and then cut back up to go to the till or something like that.
Well,
I'm not saying you can never have it.
Don't shop hungry.
That's never shop hungry. That's the best point there, especially with your kids too, because they will drive you crazy and you will cave. You will give in. Trust me.
I know it's hard.
You know, like
especially when you walk by the bakery, and then of course they're always like, hey,
they're giving the free cookie
for the little one.
Well, that's why I started doing the free, choose your fruits and veggies, because they get so happed up over that. They forget about the broccoli
as you're going around the store.
I'm not sure that the broccoli would go over as well, but they could give them strawberries or grapes or slices of apple. Remember, before BC
there's a reason they don't do that, because they want you to buy the sugar. I
know, right? Well, remember before BC Treat Fruits closed down, they used to have my kids used to call it the apple store, right? And you'd go there, and the ladies would always let the kids pick whatever kind of different apple they wanted on the way out. They loved it. Yeah. So people who think that kids only like the packaged stuff, or my kid's only going to eat whatever, if you change your frame of thinking around that and get them super excited about something new, they'll be all over it.
Yeah, go do some U-Picks too. Like late in the season, go to some U-Picks, take your kids, have them pick cherries, and I guess cherries are late, but
I think cherries are pretty much done. But
have them pick some apples.
Pick some apples.
And different things, right?
Yeah, the farmers really need you to help right now anyway with the whole apple thing. So there's a whole campaign out there with Apple Fest coming this weekend, I heard.
I love apples.
I love apples too. I ate one on the way down.
How do you like them apples?
How do you like them apples? I like them in apple crisp.
I love apple crisp.
I just made that
apples. Apple a day. It's really good for you too. Right? You can throw them in smoothies. You can do anything you want with an apple, and they keep for a long time.
They do.
Certain apples, right?
They're pretty a good stable fruit to have around.
And you can cut them up and for pies later too, and you can just put them in a baggie and freeze them and pull them out and smoothie
here's
or whatever you
one.
want.
This just reminded me, apples, because people like to dip their fruit, right? Or sometimes with the nut butter or whatever. If your kids like that hazelnut chocolate spread that is, really fancy, that people make sandwiches out of, which has no nutritional value at all. The sugary one. Sugar, Yes. You can make your own. So if you get an almond butter, I like almond butter because it's looser, like it's not as dense as peanut butter, but you could use either. And then you mix that up with some cocoa powder. Yeah. And a couple drops of stevia, or even just a little bit of your own sugar, like just a wee bit, right? Yeah. And then you taste it. You make this wonderful chocolate spread that is great with fruit. Yeah. And if you compare how much you put in there, because now you know, because you've made it, and then go grab your container of Nutella or whatever, take a look how many, you are blown away.
I'll tell you, here's the secret. And this is a great secret for people that have kids. Teach one of them to be a baker. I have a daughter at home right now that's making butter, homemade butter.
Oh, nice.
We've only been eating homemade butter, homemade sourdough all the time. There's only 2 ingredients in sourdough.
Yeah, I know. Right? Yeah.
And then and it blew me away. Homemade mozzarella. I'm just, how do you do that?
Oh, there you go.
It's so easy, right? 1 ingredient, mozzarella.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And it tastes good, and it's healthy.
Yeah.
Right? You got to eat a lot of those foods like early on, but the sourdough that she makes,
you could freeze it
from that. Whatever they have that fermenting starter or whatever, right? And then they spread it around and all kind of but that is probably the best bread I've ever had. It's hard to eat the other bread then.
When you get something that really is delicious and that's really nutritious and that's, satisfying you, it is really hard to go back.
And the bread makes the sandwich. And the bun makes the burger even when you go out. The bun is definitely makes the burger like hit or miss lots of times, right? I mean, if the meat's terrible, it's tough, but right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
But definitely if you prioritize some of these, remove the sugar, get your kid into breakfast with protein, have some protein snacks in their lunch so that they can, stay fueled throughout the day and not drive you crazy when you pick them up and you're not driven crazy either. Do the same for yourself. They're going to be concentrating and focusing way better in school. And for those kids that really have trouble sitting still, this is really, really going to help you. And then if they still need more, you can use some natural herbs like saffron and holy basil and rosemary, things that have those in there.
And you can grow that too.
You can grow that. There's way different, saffron is the key ingredient though. And there's different efficacies of that, right? And so you want to not just buy something cheap off the shelf and whatever. You need to do a little bit of research on that. So you can message me if you want.
So there you go, model behavior. So that means you got to be a baker for a little while, but not do a really good job at it, so that your child says, "Get out of the way, I can do better."
There you go. Yeah, get your kid in the kitchen to help. Get your kid in the kitchen,
and then reap the rewards for years to come.
That's right. Absolutely, you can create the little chef that you want.
That's right. By tricking them.
By tricking them. Making them see that they can like
People automatically like things they like, right?
Exactly.
And eating healthy is definitely a key, especially right now in an overstressed healthcare system.
Oh, boy.
The better you take care of yourself. And we talk about longevity a little bit. We won't get too much into that. Maybe we'll do another show on it.
We should.
But longevity is really about getting a better life, like lifespan, as opposed to just living longer.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? And, like staring at a wall and you can't walk and all that kind of stuff.
So no, you totally want to have more life in your years.
Better usable life the last 10, 20 years, as opposed to, having somebody help you do everything and can't get out of a bathtub. And
well, you worked hard to get to the point where you want to enjoy your life, right? So you want to end up making sure that, you put in some good stuff. I always say that your body is your vehicle that drives you through life, right? So just like your car in the driveway, if you don't put the right fuel in it, or if you don't plug it into the right, plug it in your car in the right, it's just not going to run the way you want it to run. So you can either drive a jalopy or you can drive a high-end Tesla or a Ferrari or whatever. It's how you take care of it. And think about this. If you were only, because I know you're a car guy, right? So if you were only allowed to ever have one car, just one, there was no upgrades, no lease trade-ins agreements, no nothing. One, how well would you take care of it?
I always take care of my cars, but there's only one car I ever want to own from now on.
Oh, okay.
And I think everybody knows the name of that. Right? So you mentioned it.
Yeah.
And because I think they're cheaper, better, faster, and safer.
There you go.
Just for that reason. But
that's the whole thing with your body, right? If this was your only vehicle, how well would you take care of it, right? So we wouldn't let it break down.
If you think of food as molecules, when you put it in, it's just the sum of the molecules that you're putting in, right? You are the molecules you're eating.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. So
you're only what you can absorb, and so that stuff that you put in.
Stop it.
Yeah. Right. All the stuff that has so many different ingredients that your body then becomes more of a filter than a nutrient distributor.
Yeah, I think if you go back and watch some of our previous episodes too, there's lots of really good information there too about what we put in and all those things and modeling behaviors.
We could talk about this for days.
Yeah, but it is so important today in an overstressed healthcare system, especially because of obesity and the high sugar content foods that are out there, heart disease, diabetes, all those things that are really troubling people because of the foods that we're ingesting, the fast foods, all that stuff.
Yep. It's all metabolic disease.
Not just saying deprive yourself of everything, but try to eat more for nutrition as opposed to eating for pleasure all the time. Right?
Absolutely.
And maybe every now and then eat for pleasure just to have some fun, but eating for pleasure all the time.
Food either fuels your body or it fuels your soul. We need both, but if you're going to be around longer to enjoy the fueling your soul, right? You need to fuel the body first.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think we'll leave it at that for today. That was lots of action-packed. So as usual, Tania Gustafson and I'm Jim Czek, and you've been watching KelownaNow.